Hello, my name is Rachel, and today I'm going to show you a couple of post-processing tips to help you improve your images. Now, both of these will be in Adobe Photoshop. The first one is removing dead space from images. Now, dead space is usually a large area in the center part of your image that doesn't contain anything that interesting. It could be a large stretch of snow, just plain white snow. It could be a large body of water that doesn't have any interesting reflections or something like that. And it's something that in an ideal world, you could reduce or eliminate in the field in your composition if you can get your camera really low, which allows you to bring the foreground and the background closer together. But this is not always possible. And so there are ways that you can sort of crop out that middle ground using layers in Photoshop, and I'll show you how to do that. The second thing I'm going to show you today, also using Photoshop, is the Content Aware Fill tool. Now, this is a really neat little sort of patch tool that allows you to select areas of your image that you want to remove and replace with pixels that are very similar to an area in your image. So it kind of just removes it and patches it up. And that can be for things like trash or maybe some power poles or maybe some scat that is in the middle of your image that you don't like. And so let's go into Photoshop now and I'll show you how to do that. Here's an image that I took of some trumpeter swans. And as you can see, there's a large section of just plain white, boring snow in this image that doesn't really add anything to the image. It really doesn't need to be there. I quite like these reeds at the top, but I just want to get rid of this big chunk of snow. So the way you can do that is you double click on your background to make a layer. Duplicate that layer using Command J. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pull up this top layer we're going to move the swan up in the image to a position near the reeds that we think it looks better. So what you do is just select the Move tool, which is this tool at the top here in Photoshop. Start moving that layer, hold down Shift so that you keep it in the same plane and pull it up. And what you can do, this is a good tip, is reduce the opacity of your layer as you do that. So then you can see where the swan is going to be in your final image. So I'm pulling it up to around about here. I think that looks pretty good. I still want a bit of the snow, but not all of it. So that'll do there. So I'll pull my opacity back up to 100%, turn that layer off and go back to my original layer. Now I'm going to crop this image so that the final image will get rid of this dead space. So I'm going to go into my crop tool. It's set at 2:3. So I'm going to pull it down here and just make it into a crop that I think will look nice about there. And now, before I crop it, I need to pull back those reeds into that shot because I want those. And if I crop it now, I'll lose them. So again, just pull that layer down, hold down Shift so that you keep it aligned with the other layer. And there I've got my reeds back, and then I just press Return to crop it. Now, as you can see, what's happened is now I've lost the interesting patterns in the ice at the bottom of the image. I've lost the bottom of this trumpeter swan. I want that back, but I don't want this snow. So what you do is I've got that in this layer here. Go back to this top layer, and I'm going to make a layer mask. And you do that by clicking on Add Layer Mask in Photoshop. If you select Alt Option, it'll give you a black layer mask. And then you take your brush tool, make that nice and big, make sure it's at 100% opacity, select white right there, and then you can just paint, you can paint back your swan and it brings it straight back into your image. And so now you can see I've got rid of all that extra space that I didn't want. And I can just sort of blend that a bit by reducing the size of my brush here and reducing the opacity so that it blends into those reeds a bit better. And you would never ever know that there was extra space there. So this is a nice little trick for removing dead space when you can't do it in the field. Obviously, it's better if you could get really nice and low at the water's edge here, then you could reduce that amount, but you can't. This is a wilderness area. These trumpeter swans are protected. I can't climb in there and get low. So I can do it in Photoshop later. So there you go. Really, really nice way. Let's have a look at the original image and then the cropped image. Original image, cropped image. Looks so much better. Now, some of you might have noticed that the swan here has left us a little present on the ice. And so I also want to get rid of that, and I'm going to do that using the Content Aware Fill tool in Photoshop. Now to do that, I need to first have only one layer in this image. So what I'm going to do is flatten this image. So I'm going to go to Layers, Flatten Image, whoops. And I'm going to go and just zoom in on this little present that the swans left us. I'm going to select that using my lasso tool. So I'm just going to click around it with my lasso tool to select it to make a marquee, which you can see becomes a selection. And then I simply go into the Edit menu in Photoshop, Content Aware Fill. Now this is really clever. So Photoshop does this automatically. What it does is you can see this green square in the image, and Photoshop has used this area to select pixels to replace this little present that the swans left us. And it shows me a preview here of what it's done. And I mean, that looks pretty good to me. It's, if you can zoom in and out to sort of see the sort of job that it's done, but I can't tell that there was something there before. You can actually go in and further modify and fine tune this if you're not happy with the job that Photoshop's done. I rarely have to do that. It's very clever. So I'm going to click OK on that. It's left a little marquee here for me. I'm going to hide that, and then I'm going to zoom out, and you can see it's gone. So again, this was our original image. After we've done our cropping and our Content Aware Fill, we've got a lot less space here, which I like this so much better. And we've lost our little present that the swans left behind for us. So these are two really simple, nice and easy ways of doing post-processing on your photos if you can't do what you want in the field. And let's face it, we can't always do that. So removing dead space by using layers and removing extraneous stuff that may be left behind by wildlife, or it could be trash, or it could be anything. Simply using the Content Aware Fill tool is really simple, quick ways to tidy up your images. So I hope this has been helpful, and thanks for watching.